Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Fayetteville. My name is Carol Olson, and I'm a member of our Chalice team that helps put on the service, our choir, and lead for our hospitality team that helps with coffee hour and special events. Unitarian Universalism is a liberal religious tradition that values freedom in religious thought and journey. We uphold the unity of our interconnections, connections to each other, to all of life, and to the precious universe of which we are a part. We affirm the universality of love and hope as we journey together in community. And we welcome you, whoever you are at the moment, and wherever you are in your spiritual journey. Please welcome Jeannie Lee. She is stepping in for Brenda and other musicians during the next few weeks as our usual folks are out of town. Thank you for that prelude, Jeannie. For those of you joining us for the first time on Facebook, please check out our website, uufayetteville.org, for more information and to sign up to receive the weekly email. You can always unsubscribe if you wish. For those of you visiting us for a first time in person, you'll find a visitor card behind, or in the seat back in front of you, rather, if the hosts missed you in the front. We'd love for you to fill one out so we can get all of you on the email list and keep you informed of UUFF happenings. There are also joys and concerns cards in the seat backs. If you have a joy or a concern you'd like to share, we invite you to fill one out. There's a place on there to indicate if you want your joy or concern shared aloud, or if you want it to be confidential and shared only with leadership. In a few minutes, you'll have an opportunity to bring the card up here and drop a stone if you wish. If you're watching on Facebook, you'll write your joys and concerns in the comments there at that time, but please note that any written there will be public. If you need hearing assistance, David, our AV tech, can help with that. If you can, please turn your cell phones down so that they don't ring during the service. That would be appreciated. And children are always welcome in our service, but there is also a staffed nursery available downstairs if you prefer. My understanding is Alex was rather lonely last week. So feel free to avail yourself of her services. We have a special treat this morning. Professor Doug Krueger will be speaking. And now he'll lead us in a few opening words.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to see you. I've got a few words today from the good book. Not that good book, this good book. It's written by a philosophy professor from the University of London, but a few words to set the tone for some of the things I'm going to say later. Shall we ask, by what commandments should we live? Or might we better ask, each of ourselves, what kind of person should I be? The first question assumes that there is one right answer. The second assumes that there are many right answers. If we ask how to answer the second question, we are answered in yet another question. What should you do when you see another suffering or in need, afraid or hungry? What causes are worthy? What world do you dream of where your child plays safely in the streets? There are many such questions, some already their own answer, some unanswerable. But when all the answers to all the questions are summed together, no one hears less than this. Love well, seek the good in all things, harm no others, think for yourself, take responsibility, respect nature, do your utmost, be informed, be kind, be courageous, at least sincerely try. Add to these 10 injunctions this, O friends, let us always be true to ourselves, and to the best in things so that we can always be true to one another.
Thank you. And now Maddie and Gabe will come to light our chalice.
Please join me in lighting the chalice. Love is the spirit of this community, and service is its prayer, to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in truth, and to help one another. Thus do we covenant together.
Morning, everyone. We're going to start with a hymn. With joy we claim the growing light. It is number 345 in the gray hymnal. Couldn't remember what color we called that. In the gray hymnal. And if you care to, you can stand. If you're more comfortable, you can sit. She is going to play it through one time so you can get the tune, and then we'll sing the 2 verses. Go ahead and stand if you would like to. With joy we claim the growing light, advancing thought and widening view, the larger freedom, clearer sight, which from the old unfold the new. With wider view come loftier goal, with fuller light more good to see, with freedom truer self-control, with knowledge deeper reverence be. Beautiful, thank you. Please be seated.
Stephanie's coming.
Our story for all ages is a beautifully simple book. So poignant for adults and kids alike. It's called When Sadness is at Your Door, and the author is Eva Eland. Sometimes sadness arrives unexpectedly. It follows you around and sits so close to you, you can hardly breathe. You can try to hide it, but it feels like you have become sadness yourself. Try not to be afraid of sadness. Give it a name. Listen to it. Ask where it comes from and what it needs. If you don't understand each other, just sit together and be quiet for a while. Find something you both enjoy, like drawing, listening to music, or drinking hot chocolate. Maybe sadness doesn't like to stay inside. Try letting it out sometimes. Go for a walk through the trees. You can listen to their sounds together. Maybe all it wants is to know that it is welcome. And to sleep
knowing it is not alone. When you wake up, it might be gone. Don't worry, today is a new day. Thank you.
As a diverse people, we share our various joys, concerns, and sorrows. We invite you to share your ups and downs as you desire. You may drop a stone even if you don't fill out a card. You can come up to the front and drop a stone for any joy or concern, shared or confidential, expressed or held in your heart. As you drop your stone, may you experience the spreading of love and support. If you filled out a card, you can bring it to me. On the card, please indicate whether your comment is confidential or to be shared. If you need to stay where you are, feel free to raise the card so someone can get it and bring it up here for you. If you're attending virtually, you may write your joys and concerns in the comments at this time. Those comments will be public and shared. Please come forward now and drop your stone. So I'm going to drop a couple of stones here. We drop the stone for joys and concerns not spoken, and we drop another for joys and concerns we will experience in the coming week. Let's have a moment of silence while we hold these joys and concerns in our hearts. And now it's time for the offering. The important work of this fellowship is possible because of your generous contributions of time, energy, and money. Every contribution of every size is helpful and appreciated. As we pass the offering baskets, we invite you to share financially. If you prefer, you may give online at uufayetteville.org, or you can mail checks to our office. Will the hosts please come forward and pass the offering baskets while Jeannie shares her music with us. Thank you, Jeannie. And now, please welcome Doug Krueger.
Okay, folks. Let's see if I can get this to work for me. Oh, so far. No, it's supposed to do that. Yeah. There we go. Okay. All right. Well, folks, I'm here to talk to you today about this interesting phenomenon in our times. I was watching the news, as I do every day, and as you probably know, there's all kinds of great things happening in the world, and also all kinds of worrisome things happening in the world. So I started to wonder, as I've been doing for, gosh, it seems like it's been years now, are things getting better or are things getting worse? I can't tell. There's all kinds of good news and there's all kinds of bad news. So should you be an optimist or a pessimist? Well, let's see. We'll define optimism, at least for our purposes, as a desire for an outcome together with a belief that the outcome is more likely than not. Okay, this is going to happen. This is going to have that kind of optimism. Oh, that's an optimist, yeah. Oh, I have a little quotation here from The Princess Bride. Some of you know that movie. We'll never survive response, nonsense, you're only saying that because no one ever has. Right? All right, that's very optimistic. That's optimistic. So you glass is half full or half empty kind of person, right? On the other hand, we'll define pessimism as, oh yeah, here's my quotation for that. He who laughs has not yet heard the bad news. Okay. Pessimism, the view that sentient beings, especially human beings, with few exceptions, are bound to strive and suffer greatly, all without any ultimate purpose or justification, and thus life is not really worth living. Wow. That's a real, yeah, that's after watching a lot of news, you start getting that feeling sometimes. Okay, so given the state of the world now, which of these should you choose? Can you justify being an optimist? Can you justify being a pessimist? We live in very interesting times in that respect because there doesn't seem to be a wave of only good things or only bad things. By the way, sometimes when I mention interesting times, people say, oh, you know, there's this Chinese curse that may you live in interesting times. That's an interesting statement, but yeah, that's not really been verified that that's a Chinese saying or anything like that. But it's interesting to see it that way, may you live in interesting times, because it is so troubling. There's lots of reasons you can find. It won't take you long online to find reasons to be an optimist, but also for reasons to be a pessimist. Let me give you just a few examples, okay? So climate change. Lots of things happening on that front, and there's positive news, as you probably know. Fossil fuel use, deforestation, and other human practices are causing our planet to get warmer. That's the whole idea of climate change. But there are more hybrid and electric vehicles in use than ever before. Just look at our parking lot, okay? Hybrid and electric vehicles are all over the place. You see them so frequently, people don't point them out. When they first were coming out, people would say, look, there's one. You remember that? And now you don't even bother to do that anymore. So that's good news. That's definitely good news. Brazil had a 34% drop in deforestation. That's great, although you should know the previous president, Bolsonaro, took deforestation to high levels, and so you're 30. But you know what? A drop is a drop. 34% is great. You know. In 2022, the U.S. got a record 40% of its energy from carbon-free sources. That's fantastic news, right? A lot of people don't know that. In April, European renewable electricity production reached 51% of their electric energy. That's all great, but the negative news, greenhouse gas levels reached record highs in 2021, and they continue to rise. It takes a while for the greenhouse gases we produce to get in the atmosphere to be measured and so forth. So in May 2020, CO2 levels reached a peak not seen in 4 million years when ocean levels were 33 to 82 feet higher. Ooh, that doesn't sound good if you live in a coastal town. June 2020 saw a temperature of 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit in the Siberian Arctic Circle. Really? That sounds like Texas, right? That's awful. Here in Northwest Arkansas, some of you probably saw it in the news this week. We had 3 days in a row of record high temperatures, okay? So on climate change, you're going to be a pessimist or an optimist? I don't know. Let's take a look at intolerance and lack of diversity. Right? I don't know if you knew this, but there are millions of Americans that oppose racial, ethnic, gender, sexual orientation, diversity in the workplace, and in representation and authority. But there's good news. Look, the U.S. had its first African-American president, of course, Barack Obama, who served 2 terms and no scandals, right? Except for the tan suit. Remember that thing? There was one channel made a big deal. He's wearing a tan suit? No president wears that. Of course, presidents had done that. But the U.S. has its first openly gay cabinet member, right? That's great news. Look at that. There's more minority and LGBTQ plus representation in the media all over the place. That's excellent news. More people of racial or ethnic minorities in Congress than ever before, 133. Number of white nationalists, neo-Nazi, and anti-government groups fell for the third straight year. Wow. Yep. And so on. So you can find lots of positive news, but also the number of hate crimes is up 35% from 2020 to 2021. The Anti-Defamation League reports anti-Semitic incidents rose 36% from 2021 to 2022. Right. Related to the hate groups earlier, we have Nazis marching in the streets with their khakis and torches and that sort of thing. So yeah, anti-Semitic incidents rose. That's the highest level, in fact, they've ever recorded in their 45-year history of the ADL. The FBI reported that hate crimes against the LGBT community rose 54%, against the transgender community, 29%. FBI keeps statistics in kind of a strange way, so they split those things up. Stop AAPI Hate recorded nearly 11,500 incidents of anti-Asian discrimination across the U.S. from March 2020 to March 2022, and so on and so forth. So yeah, we got bad news. So are things getting better or worse? I can't tell. I can't tell which is going to win. Well, we're going to get through all this bad stuff, and then it's going to be lots of good stuff. Well, I don't know. Maybe so. How about guns? The U.S., you probably know, has a gun problem. Gun death rate unmatched in any peer country. No contest. We're way out ahead of all these other countries. Right? Some of these other countries, Japan, if they get 30 murders in a year, they're like, oh man, this is a disaster. We get that much in a day sometimes here in the U.S. What am I saying sometimes? Just about every day. That's not including mass shootings, but just we have so many gun deaths. More than 1 million people lost a gun since 1990. Firearm mortality deaths increased for most demographic groups in the past few years, especially during the pandemic. People were getting murdered like at a huge rate during the pandemic. Number of firearm homicides doubled between 2014 and 2021. And Arkansas, right here in our state, repealed the requirement for a concealed carry permit to carry concealed firearms in public. So people are saying, wow, some of these states now are like the Wild West. You can just carry a gun whenever you want. Okay, so notice I'm doing the negative news first about guns. Let's see the positive news. Well, more than 88% of Americans support background checks for all gun purchases. That's not a law, but they support it. They say, I wish we had background checks for all gun purchases, right? The number of Americans that support background checks for all gun purchases has been hovering around 90% for decades. 90%. 90%, and it's still not a law? 90%, you can't get 90% of Americans to agree that the ocean is wet, okay? You can't. But you get 90% of them behind this, and you can't get this law passed? That's incredible. So, well, actually, is that good news or bad news? I can't even tell about that one. We have all this support, and we can't pass this law? In 2022, Biden signed into law a bill providing incentives for states to pass red flag laws, and now more than 20 states have them. Okay. Other positive news? Well, that's pretty much all I could find. Not a lot of positive news, folks, in that front. So, gonna be an optimist, or are you gonna be a pessimist? Well, yeah, it seems like there's problems with each of these. Optimism seems to require a blind eye toward the negative. Like, oh, we'll get over that. Well, how do you know? How do you know, optimists? How do you know we're gonna... Pessimism seems really gloomy. I do know some people that are pessimistic, and they just, every time they see the bad news, you see? And I point out the good news, yeah, but that's just, they ignore that, right? That's fleeting. Well, so's your bad news. Yeah, but it's going to happen again. Just watch, and so forth. Well, so what alternatives are there to being an optimist or a pessimist? Well, I'll show you a couple. Okay. One, you can be a stoic, okay? You may have heard of Stoicism. This is a school from the Hellenistic period. Here's some a few famous Stoics from yesteryear. And they got their name, interestingly, from they used to gather at the porch of this building here, the Agora in Athens, Greece, and they would do some teaching in the porch, so the Stoa is what the name for it, and so they became known as the Porch School, right? And so those are the people that hang around the porch. Oh, the Porch School, yeah, I heard of them. And so what kind of things did they tell us to do? What was their outlook on life? Well, their view was that happiness is a life of equanimity and virtue. Equanimity, that means you're going to always be on an even keel. Your mood is always going to be the same. Something good happens, you know, something bad happens, and you're like, you know. Because they thought that way, you're never going to be all the way down, but you're never going to be all the way up. You're just going to keep in the middle, right? Equanimity. And they thought virtue is definitely its own reward. The way to find happiness is just be a good person. And then that's all you need, no matter what else happens in your life. That's all you need, be a good person. So we get this fellow here, Epictetus. There's only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. So the way they look at it is, you just be a good person and don't worry about anything else. Don't get depressed about it, but don't get excited either, right? Because you can't control the other things that happen in the world. You can control you. That's how you're going to keep your mood the same. But you can't control all these good things or bad things that happen, so just ignore them. Those should not play a role in your mood and how you feel about life. That's the Stoic view, right? Epictetus here is often depicted as walking with a crutch because it was said that in the time in which he was a slave, his owner wondered, had heard, oh, this guy never changes his mood. He's always the same. We'll see about that. I went up to him and grabbed his leg and just twisted it till it broke to see if the guy would change his mood. And it's not reported what Epictetus' response was. I figure it was something like, dude, you know, something like that. I don't know. I don't know what his response was, but according to his teachings, he should just maintain his equanimity. Right? Marcus Aurelius, emperor, was also a famous Stoic. He says, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The idea behind the Stoicism thing is, as I mentioned, you have no control over what's going to happen in the world. So if you base your happiness on getting famous, well, you know, fame can be fleeting, right? And we can think of all kinds of people that were famous 10 years ago that we hardly ever talk about, okay? Money. Yeah, but money, people think, lots of people, especially in the United States, think money can make me happy. But money can be gone. There's lots of people that have gone broke. We can think of examples of that as well, right? Power. Yeah, maybe you're powerful now, but you can lose all your power. That can be gone. You have no control over external events. So the Stoics say, just keep an even keel. Don't let the world bother you. In fact, Epictetus said, if you're kissing your child or wife, say that it's a mortal whom you're kissing, for thus when they die, you won't be disturbed. When you kiss your wife, don't get excited. You kiss your child, you know, that's nice, but don't make a big deal, you know, because they're going to be dead sometime. You know, so this kind of life, being a Stoic. By the way, there's been a resurgence in interest in Stoicism, and I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe because the world is looking so unpredictable or strange or something, but there are lots of books on Stoicism now, how you can be a Stoic and etc. Go to the bookstore, there's a whole shelf full of them. I don't know. I don't know why this is so appealing to so many people all of a sudden, but maybe it's because of the unpredictability of our present times. But there's a couple of problems that have always been present with Stoicism, one of which is, you know, trying to maintain equanimity in the face of all the good things, bad things, and so on that life is going to throw you, that's a task. That's a tall order. And it's not for everybody. Not everybody can do that. Okay? And would you really want to sacrifice the highs to lose the lows? Not everybody's willing to do that. But also, it's only by a desire for a better world that motivates people to go and work for social change and get things done. You don't like the bad things happening in the world? Well, go and do something about it. But if you're stoic, you're resigned to thinking, well, I can't do anything about this. There's no point in trying because I might fail. And so I'm just going to keep an even keel, keep my equanimity. So is there another alternative? Well, maybe all of these optimism, pessimism, stoicism, all of those might be a little bit wrong-headed. So I was thinking of this and thinking that maybe I should come up with some other alternative. And it occurred to me that all of those focus on the importance of one's emotions. And maybe that's not the best way to focus on how you should look at the world. Instead, maybe we could look for something that, an approach that looks at outcomes instead of emotions. Yeah, emotions are important, and that's what makes us happy or sad, and et cetera. That is happy or sad. But maybe there's another way to look at the world. So I was going to call what I'm proposing here realism, but the term realism is used in philosophy and in politics and so on in quite a different way than I am going to be talking about today. So maybe I thought I'll just add another word in front of it, and we'll call it action realism. Okay? Action realism, where one should work for a desirable outcome together with a belief that there's no guarantee that this outcome will be realized. Okay? There's no guarantee. You're going to try to make a better world, but you're not going to tell yourself that it's absolutely going to happen. So is the glass half full or half empty? Answer, did everybody get some? Right? So you're not focusing on how you're going to see the glass. You're going to be focusing on outcomes, the purpose, what's this glass for? Let's see if we can address that instead of how I feel about the glass. Okay? Does it really matter how I feel about the glass? If somebody wants a drink, well, look, there's half a glass here. Help yourself, right? So I call it action realism. So you're part optimist because you desire a beneficial outcome. You're going to work toward it, right? That's very important to add the work toward it, right? Because if you just wish for things to change, that's great. I'm glad you would like things to change, but that is not where change comes from, okay? So you're part optimist, desire a beneficial outcome, work toward it. But you're also part pessimist in this sense. Recognize that there will be obstacles. Nothing comes easy, especially the bigger change you want, the more obstacles you're probably going to encounter. So you're a little optimist, a little pessimist, and then you're also a little bit stoic, okay? Don't let setbacks deter your continued work. So something impedes your progress to whatever goal you have, well, just keep going, right? Just keep going. But notice that all of these are, all of this view, action realism, it's compatible with being happy or sad or depressed or annoyed or whatever. You can have those, but that's not what defines this approach. It's not defined by the emotions, okay? So you get a setback, you can go have a little cry or, whatever, but tell yourself, I'm going to get back to it. I'm going to get back to the task. I'm going to keep working, okay? There's no guarantee I'll succeed, but I want this to happen. So in action realism, also, unlike the optimist or the pessimist, you make no assumptions about guarantees, okay? It's always, in my whole life, it's kind of been irking me when people say, let's do this. This is going to happen, right? And I say, well, you know what? We don't know it's going to happen. I mean, we'd like it to happen, but we don't know. There could be a meteor strike tomorrow and we're all dead, right? I mean, we have no idea what's going to happen in the future. Nobody can predict that, okay? Like the Stoic, you don't let misfortune deter you, as I mentioned. And unlike the Stoic, you relish the pleasant moments in life, okay? Action realism. I just came up with this when I was preparing this talk here, and so if you start looking around on the internet for it, where did he get this stuff? I just kind of made it up. It sounded like a good idea. I think I'll do more on this. So let's see. A better world is not inevitable. Here's my little catchphrase. But it's not impossible. Okay. A better world is not inevitable, but it's not impossible. And when I'm talking to my classes often, well, of course it's often, I have classes, right? But when I'm talking to my classes about happiness, I tell them one of the things that makes people feel better, now if you want to put that emotion part in your action realism, one of the things that makes people feel better about life and about their own lives, okay, is to be working toward goals that they cherish, goals that they think are worthwhile. If you work toward them, you feel better about it. You feel better about your life. I'm doing something valuable. And it especially helps if you're in a group and the whole group is working toward that goal. If you're the only one doing it, that's tougher. But you get people to help you. You get a group together, a club. We're going to pick up trash along the road. You get, adopt a highway, that sort of thing. You get people to, we're going to clean up this river or, whatever it is. You work toward that goal and you're going to feel better about things, right? Hard work brings about change. Now, we all know about that. But what I'm suggesting here is at least my view about it, don't assume it's going to happen, and don't assume it's not going to happen, okay? Don't be the total optimist. Don't be the total pessimist. Be a little bit there in the middle. And there we go. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Jeannie?
We're going to sing Blue Boat Home, and that is in the Teal hymnal. It's hymn 1064. The words will be on the screen, or you can follow along. I think a lot of us know this tune. If you would like to, please stand, and let's sing.
Drifting here with my ship's companions,
Can't you picture it? Have a seat.
Gabe and Maddie.
Please join me in extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you.
And now for a few announcements. These are on the screen and in your order of service, but I want to mention a few and highlight them. We have a special announcement. A celebration of life service for Mike Shermer will be held in the sanctuary here at the UUFF on Saturday, July 22nd, beginning at 11 a.m. All are invited to join together in remembrance. The RE and ARE programs are on a break through the summer and will start back September 3rd. Just a reminder, I know that you all have figured this out because when you come here at 10, nobody's here yet. And the meditation group will continue on through Zoom without interruption. Doug will now share some closing words with us.
Go your own ways, knowing not the answers to all things, yet seeking always the answer to one more thing than you know.
Thank you so much, Doug. That was wonderful. The talk was wonderful. As we enjoy our postlude, please feel free to enjoy refreshments and conversation. Jeannie?